I might be dying, but nobody will tell me. Not that I blame the docs. They're a little busy with my gunshot wound to engage in my razor sharp conversational French banter. So I'll do my job, which is to lie here and try not to become the next headliner at that great gig in the sky. Giving up control isn't my strong suit, but when they hustle you in on a gurney and cut your pants off with a nasty pair of scissors, you've pretty much already handed the whole deal over to them. I'm not even embarrassed that I went commando today. And so
Ladies
it
and gentlemen,
opens.
Jeremiah Higgins. I'm sorry, I stepped you.
No, I was gonna say, what an opening. I love that. So it opens, I say, The Accidental Joe, the top secret life of a celebrity chef, by my very special guest today, author Tom Straw. Bang! That's how you start a spy novel with a celebrity chef, bad boy persona. Are you thinking what I am? Tell me more, Tom.
I will. I will. In fact, there's probably about 300 more pages that you could enjoy of that, of the Accidental Joe.
It keeps going like that, and it doesn't slow down at all. So here's the plot. Let me just give you the one liner here. A maverick celebrity chef reluctantly agrees to let the CIA use his hugely popular international food, culture, and travel TV series as cover for a dangerous espionage mission. That's the plot. Are you reeled in even a little more? First, a little about our author and our special guest, Tom Straw. Tom published his first mystery novel, The Trigger Episode, in 2007. And writing as Richard Castle, he authored 7 crime novels, all of which became New York Times bestsellers. Incredible. Published in 2017, Buzzkiller marked Tom Straw's first book under his own name since that blockbuster Nikki Heat series. And now Tom brings us a new spy thriller coming on May 14th of this year from Regalo Press. It's called The Accidental Joe, the top secret life of a celebrity chef. Tom is also an Emmy and Writers Guild of America nominated TV writer and a producer, having written and produced Night Court, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, Dave's World, Grace Under Fire, Cosby, Whoopi, and Nurse Jackie, to name a few. He's also a member of the National Board of Mystery Writers of America. Are you still in Connecticut there, Tom? Welcome.
Yes, here I am on the shoreline of Connecticut, looking out at from my commanding view of Long Island Sound. All is quiet
Oh,
on the Sound.
is that where you write? Is that where you go to write
Yeah,
mostly?
it is. Although I'm fairly portable, but yeah, I can write just about anywhere, but I prefer like my little hovel, my garret, my
Yeah,
habitat.
you okay. Because I would imagine that as a like you would almost need your space around you to really create to tap into that side,
Yeah,
that creative side.
fortunately though, I go to New York City a fair amount, which is a 2-hour train ride away. And do a lot of writing at the New York Public Library, that famous one with the 2 lions out front. And
Mm.
they can't keep me out. I go in anyway.
What do you
And
like about writing there?
it's I call it a cathedral of books. And it's you go in there and there's a vibe. There's the Rose Reading Room upstairs on the 3rd floor, which is a place where the general public can go and just sit and read and write and what have you. No headphones, please. Um, but also I was a fellow of that library for a while, and they gave me a semi-private office, which was nice. So on those occasions when you're in New York and you're, running around between meetings and so forth, if I had a 4-hour stretch, I could go in and get a cubby and sit there, and you could leave your stuff on your desk at lunch and nobody will go through it. And at least that's what I'm told.
There is something neat about being in a library and writing. I spent a lot of time at USC's libraries, and there I forget the name of it. There's one that was up above, and you could look down into the courtyard and the leaves changing, and it was just you're around those books and that knowledge and that powerful feeling of that quiet and learning and reading and people studying. It's just kind of a powerful feeling,
Yeah,
I think, and place
you're pre
environment to write.
you're preaching to the choir here, because like when I travel, and I love to travel, when I'm in London, I'll go to the British Library and write. When I'm in LA, I'll go to a public library in a neighborhood, or I'll go to the main one downtown. I've written in Boston Public Library, which is also great. It's like a small version of the New York Public Library. It looks very similar. But you're right. There's a vibe. There's something
Mm-hmm.
about being in an environment like that it makes you focus. It makes you say, "Oh, well, look at I'm surrounded by all these books. I better do one."
Well, you have done that, and congratulations on the new book. So I
Thank
got
you.
a question, Tom. When did you first realize that you could think like a criminal and then turn those thoughts into these thrilling mystery novels?
I'll tell you. I'll answer that with a true story. When I wrote my very first book, you mentioned the trigger episode, which not only has crime in it, but also has a certain amount of like torture and really gritty kind of like bad stuff. Um, when I don't show my work to my wife until I'm done. And so when I finished that book, which was my first ever after being writing all the sitcoms and whatnot, she took my manuscript pages and sat at the kitchen counter, and I went to bed. 3:30 in the morning, she comes upstairs and she gets into bed and she said two things. I loved it. Second thing, who are you?
Yeah, and I'm
That's
going
the
to
whole
be
point.
sleeping down the hall tonight with the door
Yes, that's
locked.
right. Yeah. But I think it's the exercise of the imagination. I read a lot of those books. My TV taste, even for somebody whose background is in comedy and television, I was nuts for Rockford Files and Hill Street Blues and NYPD Blue and actually anything blue I would watch. Uh, but I loved the police procedurals. I love the dramas. There's a lot of Scandinavian and British shows that are great. The John le Carré, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Those are
Uh,
good.
yeah, both versions, and so I'm hooked on that stuff. And so instead of saying I've always wanted to write one of these, I said, no, I'm going to write one of these.
Did it scare you at all? Like your wife didn't get scared, but she thought, "Who are you?" Does it ever?
Yeah.
Do you ever look in the mirror and go, "Who are you?"
No, I don't
How'd you
worry
come up
about
with
it.
that?
No, I
No.
don't worry about it because I never think of acting out on it. It's just that I love to come up with stuff. I love playing in the imagination, and you wonder what if. And what would somebody, I'm very big on like adopting the character I'm writing when I'm writing. So I try to think of, okay, what would this person do in this situation? And that includes the bad guys. So like they aren't going to just like let him do what he wants to do. They're going to do something about it. And okay, then it becomes, okay, what are they going to do? And what's at their disposal and how are they going to do it? um there's some fairly rigorous scenes in this book, but one of the things that the feedback I've gotten on it, people are gravitating to, is like in the Castle books, there's humor. In fact, there's
Yeah.
laughs. There's
Yes.
out loud laughs in it, and there's also a lot of romance. So it kind of it's not easy to do, but I have a knack, if I may say so, for threading that needle between comedy and drama, and combining them in a way that they're compatible.
What do you think it says about you as a person, Tom, that your mind works in that way? It feels like it works really well in this genre, in this thriller genre, with the humor and the romance. But you're a really great storyteller in that way. But who are you as an author, as a person? What
Mhm.
does that say about you? Is it saying something? Are your books and your novels saying something about you that you'd like everybody to know? And if so, what is that?
Well, I think what it is that I always try to say, it kind of goes back to what I said a minute ago. I try to pretend, okay, if I were in that situation, what would I do? And I'm kind of a wise guy. And so, sometimes I will say horribly funny, inappropriate things when I see something horrible happening. And so it's not that I don't have a heart, I do, but I also kind of have a smart aleck. in me. And so when I'm writing these, what the playground I love of these books, as it was with the Castle books, frankly, is that it lets me be sort of the outsider in a very established, rigid world. You think back to the Castle TV series that Andrew Marlowe created so beautifully. Um, you have an outsider coming into a police precinct, and he's not invested in following the rules, and so he's going to be the guy pulling pigtails and giving people hot foot and all that stuff. And I've done kind of the same thing with Chef Pike in this book, and hopefully the series of books that will follow, which is he's a celebrity chef. He's the Anthony Bourdain fictionalized. And now he has to work with the CIA, and they have rules and they have all this stuff that he's always worked against. So he's the perfect person for me to sort of exercise that contrarian part of my personality, that wise guy that is really a way of poking somebody in a way that exposes the truth of what's really going on.
It's such an interesting and fresh, to borrow your words, through the novel. It's a fresh outtake. It's a fresh new genre, culinary espionage. I've never heard of it. I mean, it's a really great idea. And so, tell us a little bit about the character. You know, why was he? Why did you make him a celebrity chef?
Well,
Was that the vessel through the television show, and then the CIB? Well, you tell me. Tell me why a
yeah,
celebrity chef as your
fortunately, I have an answer for that, because wouldn't it be embarrassing if I didn't?
just
Um,
because I liked it.
yeah.
It
Well, you
was
know what?
interesting.
I'm a runner, and I run to just kind of refresh myself from the writing, to kind of get out and just let things flow and get maybe not even think. But there was one day a little over a year ago, I was out for a run, and an idea popped into my head that sometimes, and not often in your life, you get that lightning bolt or the light bulb that goes off over your head. I thought, what if Anthony Bourdain had been using his show to spy for the CIA? And that was my thought. And then I thought, oh my God, I have to remember this because I don't have anything to write it down. And so I just kept saying that over and over again in my head till I got home, and I quickly wrote it down. And I thought, I can probably do something with this. I didn't
Now
know
I'm
how.
curious. You know how for sure. Did you suspect that maybe Anthony Bourdain was using his show? Well, I mean, why did that thought come into your head?
Well, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if he had been?
What a great cover.
Yeah, well, it's a perfect cover because he's somebody who could get in places that other people can't. And so that was like what really kind of tickled me. And so I had to kind of come up with the idea of, okay, how do I get him in that position? I don't really buy the fact that he went through CIA training and all that stuff. And I also, as I just mentioned, I wanted to have the outsider come in to do the sort of the
Mm.
cannonball bull. And so, because I did construct a character here who is a very big contrarian, says what he thinks, does what he wants. I can't play by your rules. And to me, that's the perfect person to put into that environment.
So tell us a little bit, like what kind of man is he, and his backstory. Did you create a backstory for him
I
and
did.
your
I did. It's one of those things that
some texture?
yeah, I sat down and I wrote a 5-page biography of him before I even wrote any of the book. Like, where did he come from? What, and you borrow a little bit from chefs. I mentioned to you, I'm friends with Alton Brown from the Food Network, but there are other chefs that I've met and know, and I tried to pull in the little facets of each of them, but I wanted to give him a background that didn't just make him a wise guy. I wanted to put in, okay, where did he come from that made him that way? And what I came up with, um, and it's in the book, um, is that he was born in the back seat of a getaway car. And the biography I came up with from that is that he came, and this is all invention. He
Uh-huh.
came from Queens, New York, in a sort of a lower middle class upbringing. And his father was kind of like not the best guy, and his mother was having an affair with a smash and grab jewelry thief. And so they were, it's like take your mistress to work day, I guess. And this guy brought his mom along, 9 months pregnant, on one of his jobs. And while they were running from the police, she was in the back seat of the car having Sebastian Pike.
Now that's
So
a backstory.
now that's a backseat story. So
That's a
so
backseat story.
so from there I went from, and I won't get too detailed here, but from there I went to, okay, what else? This guy probably was whip smart, brilliant, but wasn't really good in school because he wasn't disciplined. And so he probably barely finished high school. Worked in restaurants just to make money, like peeling potatoes and scrubbing the grill and all that. But I eventually, through a series of things, got him to the Culinary Institute of America, where he became a serious chef. Got a job at a restaurant, became a big deal. Got a what they call a dump and stir show on the Food Network, like a weekend instruction thing. Like here's how you do this, or here's how you do that. And
Dump
then
and stir.
he couldn't stand that, so he said, "I know I'm on TV every week, but I don't care." He quit, and he went off just to travel, and he made YouTube videos of his trips. And then the Food Network called him back and said, "We want to do that as a show." And so he now is the host of a show called Hangry Globe, because the world is pretty hangry if you look.
That's a great title. So what's the show about? Tell us about the show.
It's a food and culture show where he goes around the world. This will sound somewhat familiar to people, and he interviews very interesting people, off speed people, not necessarily cooks, although he does do that. But he'll a story I'm working on that's not in this book, but a future one, is that like he'll hang out with a Russian dissident who was operated a restaurant in Moscow and is now in London, and he needs a favor from him. So, I'm always trying to
Mm,
find that connection in the culinary
mhm.
world that also connects to society, to politics. I don't get too heavily into partisan politics. What I get into really is the office politics of the CIA, and how there's a lot of backstabbing and there's a lot of turf wars and things like that. The you've read the book, so you know that they're not only fighting the bad guys, but they're fighting with each other. So they've got a war on two fronts.
It's really a brilliant concept. It's a lot of fun to read. It's a great character. I want to hear about his love interest, Cami Nova, when we get back. But could we get you, Tom,
Yeah.
to honor us with a read with of your novel?
Why, sure. I'll be happy to do that. What, would you mind if I picked up where you left off about he's not even embarrassed that he went commando?
I love that. I love that. That opening is really terrific. It's like I'm in.
Short, sweet, and self-explanatory. That's what you really
Yeah.
want, right? So he's on the ER table in a French or in a foreign hospital, and he says, "If I don't seem full-blown panicked, thank the drugs. Whatever they gave me on the medevac chopper took care of that, and thank goodness. One of the doctors is poking around my nether regions like she's searching for a lost earring between the couch cushions. She's either probing for the slug, or she's trying to stop the bleeding, or she lost an earring. Now, just so you know, I'm lucky to have your company, not only to keep me from being alone, which I dearly appreciate, but somebody should know how I, a globe-trotting TV chef, ended up in a foreign trauma center riding the seesaw of life's tipping point. So, reader, draw near. I'm about to take you someplace you've never imagined. I know I never did. I promise you one hell of a ride. I'll try to get all this out while I still can. Are you with me?
I'm with you, Tom. I'm with you. And the book comes out May 2024. It's a fresh new spy novel. It's called The Accidental Joe, The Top Secret Life of a Celebrity Chef. And Tom Straw, he's wrote quite a few books, 7 New York Times bestsellers. He's an Emmy and Writers Guild of America nominee. And that was his writing, the 7 New York Times bestsellers, writing as Richard Castle. You guys are all familiar, I'm sure, with the Castle series, television series. Is incredible as well. You can pre-order The Accidental Joe, The Top Secret Life of a Celebrity Chef, now. Go to Amazon or anywhere you get your books, Simon and Schuster, and it's all over the place. The Accidental Joe, again, The Top Secret Life of a Celebrity Chef. And as part of the mission of Regalo Press, a donation is being made to the World Central Kitchen as chosen by the author, Tom Straw. You can go to wck.org to find out more and go to tomstraw.com for all of his socials and for to keep up with the latest in events. And he does have some events. You got a book tour coming up, Tom. We'll talk about that after the break.
Okay.
My special guest today, Tom Straw. Now, let me just say one more thing before we take you there. Tom also gave us his music soundtrack for the show today. It's a really fun music soundtrack. We're going to talk about that as well when we come back. You're listening to the Jeremiah Show. Tom Straw, special guest. We'll be right back.